Hello, good morning, and welcome to our second lesson of Singing Foundations. I first want to thank you for your feedback on our previous video. I'm really delighted to see that people are finding it helpful and that it's bringing some value to you. I received a few requests now to create another video with new lessons. So today I want to do that. I want to share with you two new exercises that are going to help you with the previous two exercises. So if you felt like you got stuck on, say, for example, the tongue trill, don't worry. If you do these next two exercises, it's going to help you with the previous two. This is generally true for everything that we'll be doing as we study our vocal production technique. The things that I'm going to show you are really going to help and complement one another. So don't ever feel like you have to totally master the previous things that we've done in order to, before you can start experimenting with anything new that I might share with you. Okay, because even though I am presenting these in a specific order that is somewhat thought to be, help build on the previous one, they all ultimately combine together to form proper vocal production. Okay, and the other thing too is I'm going to be sharing with you different ways to approach the same goal. Our goal in Singing Foundations is to develop a healthy instrument, an instrument that is one voice from the very bottom to the very top of your range without any breaks or cracks in between. Once you have this one voice, kind of like how a violin goes all the way up and down without any differences, without any breaks, then you'll know you'll have a good solid vocal foundation with which you can start building on top of and experiment. You'll be able to experiment with more advanced techniques like rock singing, for example. You don't want to jump into extreme rock singing until you have this vocal foundation in place, all right, because you will do some serious damage if you do that. So that's our goal for Singing Foundations. So the next two exercises I want to give you, this one is even more geared towards helping your vocal cords coordinate properly from the bottom to the top of your range. And one of the most helpful tools that I have come across that was taught to me by an amazing rock vocalist is a tool called the singing straw. Now, in my research online, I have found that this is apparently a topic of debate between different singing coaches, but I can only speak for myself and from my own experience, and I can tell you that for me, the singing straw has been an invaluable addition to my practice, because prior to this, I had been doing my normal professional gigs, singing with my dance party rock band, 4-hour gigs, and even with the previous vocal techniques that I have studied and practiced, I've been fine. I've not lost my voice, I've not done any damage to it, and I've maintained a pretty long, modest career as a professional singer in these high-energy dance bands. But even with my great technique, I still had an issue that I kind of just accepted as a fact, that by the end of a 4-hour night of high-energy dance music singing, singing up there in my upper registers with Prince, Bruno Mars, Michael Jackson, everyone's up in that high register all the time in this kind of music. After 4 hours of that, I just completely lost access to all my low notes until the next morning when I can wake up with my deep, low morning voice, right? And I just accepted that as my reality. Like, that's just the way it is. Once I've been singing up there for a certain period of time, I lose access to my low notes. Well, I didn't know what I didn't know. That is until the rock singer extraordinaire gave me this tool. And what I learned from this is that the first thing I discovered was that after 4 hours of singing, and I would cool down with this singing straw, I could regain access to my low notes the same night. So then I started using this in between sets during breaks. And I found that I can maintain my vocal coordination to be able to reach my low notes when I need it. So I never lost my low notes after using this. And if I ever felt like my voice was, I'm just having one of those days, because, you know, it is part of our body and our body's always changing. I'm having one of those days where my voice just seems to be stuck in a high register, or if it's stuck in a low register and I can't hit my usual high notes, I just do a few minutes of this and everything gets it's like yoga. Everything kind of lines up. It's kind of like vocal yoga or vocal chiropractic. Because it really helps with the coordination. And how it does that is because we're singing through this tiny little hole. So rather than our usual open mouth, big mouth, we are limiting ourselves into this tiny little space. And that sort of kind of puts your vocal cords in a situation where it needs to figure out its coordination all the way up and down the bottom of your range. And when you do this for a few minutes, you start extending a little bit up there, and you start extending a little bit down at the bottom too. So I'm going to show you how this works. Oh, first of all, this is just a coffee stirrer. All right, nothing fancy here. It's usually longer, but we want to cut them down to about 2 to 3 inches, because if it's too long, there's going to be too much pressure, and it's really nearly impossible to do the exercise. So 2 to 3 inches is a good length, and I recommend getting one that's hollow all the way through. Some coffee stirrers have that additional wall that goes all the way through. You don't want that because it'll obstruct your airflow. You want full airflow through a completely hollow straw. All right, one of these small coffee straws. Okay, and what we're going to do is we're going to put it in our mouths, and we're going to sing through this tiny little hole from the bottom to the top and up and down. And we're just going to do it very, very easily, very, very softly. As we start to approach our higher and higher notes, we don't want to lean into it too much or put too much compression on it. We just want to very lightly touch on those higher notes. So I'm slowly going just a little bit higher. I haven't warmed up my voice at all this morning, so I'm actually warming up in real time in front of you right now. The other thing too that you want to make sure to do is you want to make sure that the air is coming out through the straw alone and not through the nose. So what I've had to do in the beginning was to just pinch my nose. I'll put my hand in front to make sure that the air is coming out through the straw, not my nose. Notice how there's little to no motion in my throat or in my jaws. This is such a therapeutic thing for the vocal cords. Again, it's kind of like vocal yoga, and I found it's a great way to warm up, especially like say I'm in a pinch and I don't have a whole lot of time to do my normal warm-up routine. I found that this really goes a long way. Just 5 minutes of this goes a long way towards getting my vocal cords coordinated and warmed up for a couple of hours of singing. It's also a great and healthy way to cool down at the end of the night. Like I said before, after a 4-hour night of high energy dance singing, I would have no access to my voice. It would feel tired, and my low notes, I would have no access to my low notes because my voice would feel tired. But when I would cool down with this at the end of the night, I regain my vocal coordination, and I regain access to those lower notes, as well as keeping those higher notes up there. okay? And so when you practice with your singing straw, this is going to help you with your tongue trills and your lip trills. All right, so all these exercises will complement one another. I can already feel my voice sort of lining up, tuning up, and waking up after just doing just a few rounds of singing through the straw. You really want to do this for about 5 minutes. You don't really need much longer than that. You may start to feel fatigued if you get much longer than that. But once you've been doing this for a while, you might find yourself feeling more endurance and more strength to go a little bit longer than 5 minutes, and that's okay if you feel that you need it. But 5 minutes, I have found for me, has generally been a really good and useful rule of thumb. It's been sufficient. I'm feeling a fuller lower voice. I'm getting up there in my high voice as well. All okay, so I encourage you to experiment with the singing straw. Don't listen too much to the naysayers. I mean, every singing teacher has their own thing and their own opinions and stuff, but I really have found this helpful. The other thing too is I'm showing you different angles, different approaches to the same objective, which is that one voice that we're trying to achieve. So whether it be through the lip trill, the tongue trill, or the singing straw, or this fourth thing I'm about to show you, all of these things are geared towards that ultimate goal. Because all of our physiologies are different, it's helpful to have different ways of approaching this. Because what works for Cynthia is not going to work for Joe, and what works for George is not going to work for Jennifer, and vice versa. So it's good to have different ways of approaching the same objective. So that's the first one, the singing straw. The second thing I want to show you is sirens, okay? And for this, we're going to use May, okay? Now, if you've ever been to a classical vocal teacher, they are always going to sternly encourage against splatty vowel sounds or anything involving a wide embouchure. And that's all well and good if you are studying classical music and opera. A lot of that kind of singing is culturally and traditionally long sounds, okay? But since we're all studying jazz and probably also pop and rock, the vowel sounds of this type of music is very American, which is a very ah. You hear that in a lot of R&B, jazz, okay? So if that's going to be the sounds that we're having in our music, then we should absolutely train our voices to do it well and to do it without hurting ourselves. So this is the next thing that I want to show you, is to get that embouchure as part of your foundation, because I'm assuming you're going to be singing a lot of jazz, pop, R&B, or rock, like American music, right? There's a lot of and a in our music. So this embouchure also helps to lift the voice. So your embouchure, you want to have a bit of a smile, kind of flat tongue, okay? You see this in pictures. A lot of singers pose like that. They're all like, okay. And there's a reason for that, because this is a good embouchure for pop, rock, jazz music. I've been a lot of places in my life and time. I've sung a lot of songs. I made some bad rhyme. It's very Okay, so what we're gonna sing is Sirens in May. So it's gonna be May, very lightly touching. We're not gonna lean into the high notes too much at this time. For now, we're just going to very lightly touch those high notes. May. So if you find yourself sounding a little bit airy at first, that's fine, that's good, that's all we're looking for now. May. I want you to do 5 minutes of this. If you have any breaks in your voice at all, you really want to be doing this as often as you possibly can. May. Very lightly. You can be airy with it. It's okay. Once you start getting comfortable and you find your vocal cords are positioning well, when I say positioning well, meaning that there's no breaks, like okay, all one voice. Once you feel comfortable with that, then you can start putting a little more compression. You can lean into it a little bit more. All right, but for now, just keep it light and airy in the very beginning. This siren combined with your singing straw is going to help teach your vocal cords to coordinate properly, because your vocal cords kind of look like this and they kind of like do this, you know. Hard for my hand to do it, but so you want those vocal cords to coordinate, and these exercises will teach your vocal cords how to do that, and in turn will help you with the previous 2 exercises as well as everything else we're going to do in the future. So those are your 2 new exercises for today. Go ahead and experiment with all 4 of the exercises that you have at your disposal now. Let me know if you have any concerns, questions, or comments, and if you're starting to see results, by all means, I'd love to hear the results that you're experiencing with these exercises. Try to set aside 10 to 15 minutes a day to just do these warm-ups and experiment with these, and let me know how it's going for you. And if you have any questions, let me know. All right, so thank you so much for watching this lesson 2 of our singing foundations. I look forward to seeing you on the next one. All right, bye for now.